Okay, so for a bit of context, um, this started out as an inside joke between my friend and I. I said, "Hey, what if I do this dramatic, like over dramatic reading of the r/no sleep post about the backrooms?" And for context, this is what the backrooms look like, and um, it's pretty much supposed to be like this alternate reality where you can encounter by no clipping out of reality. So, someone made an r/no sleep post about it, and I said, "Hey, what if I, make a dramatic reading of it like one of those creepypasta YouTubers?" And a lot of my friends are saying to do it in very cryptic ways, but yeah. So I'm gonna start now. Let's do this. This is a story from my childhood. It's late September. You remember these nights? Humid, muggy, just a hint of the coming fall. Too cold for a t-shirt, but too warm for a sweater. These are the nights best spent at Cook Place Community Mall in my modest Midwest hometown. A diamond in the rough, in my eyes. The shopping center is a break from the monotony of tired hardware stores and family grocers that line Main Street. The Cook Place Mall is typically packed to capacity, but not tonight. It was 8:15 on a Tuesday night, 45 minutes until close. Not exactly prime shopping hours. Despite that, my three friends and I were still going strong. We were ending the night in a dusty arcade located in the basement of the shopping mall. It was down a short flight of stairs, between the Dairy Queen and Sbarro and the food court. Faded and flickering carnival lights lined the dimly lit hallways and steps. "Andy, do you have for the quarter?" Philip, my youngest friend, questions as the word game over splattered across the screen. Philip was 12 years old, and a bit underdeveloped for his age. Andrew, his older brother, my best friend, and my biology partner, scowled as he rummaged through his pockets in vain. "Maybe if you were a bit better at the game, I'd have more quarters for you to play on." It was 8:16 p.m., and it seemed our time at the arcade was coming to a close. I had a few loose quarters left in my pocket, but that was going to stay my secret. I was hoping to spend it on a Coke tomorrow morning before class started. Clay, a guy Anthony had literally just met in biology, had clearly been waiting for this moment. "Honestly, yeah, guys. It's a bit late. I think we're gonna bounce. Gotta study for our exam on cellular reproduction." The exam wasn't for another week yet, but I wasn't bothered. Clay had been acting a bit ambivalent since we got to the mall, since he wasn't a huge fan of having Philip around. Cramped his style or whatever. I didn't care. Philip was pretty much like a brother to me, so he came first. Philip, having realized there would be nary a quarter for him, gave up aimlessly pressing buttons on the greasy machine. "I have to go to the bathroom." "Didn't you just go?" sighed Andy. "Yeah, but we had a large soda." "You had a large soda, kid. By the time I got a sip, it was all backwash." I chuckled as Andy and Philip started away from the arcade machines. Clay, while texting, followed lazily behind them. It was 8:24, and we had located a bathroom. The bathroom we were used to using in the mall, on the other way out of the front door, was closed for renovations, so we had to find another one. An L-shaped hallway with yellow, humming fluorescent lights, and in a corresponding bathroom on either side of the hall, with custodial equipment blocking the women's entrance. Philip rushed to the restroom. The mall closed at 9 p.m., so we were going to need to get moving. Sure enough, as the thought crossed in my mind, a rattly old mall intercom crackled to life with a... An adolescent male spoke sharply. "Mall closing in 30 minutes. Mall closing in 30 minutes." I checked my watch. It was 8:26 p.m. Huh. Someone's in a hurry to get out of here tonight. I thought. That's retail. Clay spoke up. "I might just get going, you guys. I live pretty close to here. I'm just gonna walk instead of taking the bus. Good night." "Night, Clay," we all said in unison. We turned his back and walked away, turning right to depart the mall. Andy and I looked at one another. "I don't know. Kind of wet blanket. He seemed really cool when I met him," Andy explained. "Nah, he was okay. Maybe a bit quiet. The texting was a bit annoying, though." Our attention was drawn to the sound of a flush bathroom. Andy's face twisted into a mischievous grin. "Hey, we should get Philip a little fright when he comes out." Remembering how jumpy Philip tended to be, I felt a pang of guilt. It wasn't very nice to spook him, and we did it fairly often. Nevertheless, I stood on the other side of the door, opposite Andy, waiting for Philip to step between us, not expecting a thing. The door swung open. Philip stepped out into the hallway, focused on drying his hands on his pants. He stepped by none the wiser. Andy yelped. as we grabbed a shoulder. Philip yelled as he twisted around and fell backwards. Philip fell into the wall. Then, Philip literally fell into the wall. That's the only way I know how to describe it. One moment he had slipped off his feet and crashed into the wall. The next, everything about his legs had gone through the wall, as if they were a perfectly shaped hole in the concrete. Philip's legs spasmed in the air in the same looping, spastic pattern for a few seconds. And then there was nothing left but solid concrete. Andy stuttered as he fell to his knees, his face a mixture of curiosity and confusion. As he shuffled towards the wall, his face turned to fear. I don't understand. I don't understand. Philip? He shouted his brother's name with a desperate, wavering cry. Philip! He slammed his hands onto the wall. Once. Twice. But not a third time. Andy's head now protruded from the wall, facing the ceiling. His head seized from side to side, as he continued to scream for his brother. God, he sounded like he was yelling through a box fan. I stepped backwards as my best friend disappeared from sight. I was left with his scream bouncing off the hallway walls, intensifying as it mixed with the hum of the fluorescent. The howl of the fluorescent. My back pressed against the bathroom door, and I jumped. I screamed as my world exploded with static, deafening and blinding me. The noise was unbearable, and the green obscured everything. All at once it stopped. I clutched my head with my hands, eyes squeezed shut. The static had dissipated, but it was replaced with the hum of fluorescent lights and the all-too-familiar yellow glow through my eyelids. But there was something new. A smell that hadn't been there before. The musty, wet smell of a carpet. The smell reminded me of the dilapidated bowling alley down the road from the mall. I opened my eyes. Before me was the bathroom hallway, as expected, lit by the same light as before. The bathroom doors were gone. There were no more doors. No more custodial equipment. Just a smooth slab of concrete wall. I got to my feet and looked around cautiously. It seemed I was in the mall still, but it was quiet. It felt different. The fluorescent hum buzz was too loud. My ears itched. I walked down the hallway in direction of the food court. As I turned the corner, I was met with, not the opening to the food court as expected, but by another abrupt 90-degree corner, turning to the left. I froze. The loudspeaker was engaged. The empty air of the speaker nearest me told me that, but the operator had nothing to say. After a motionless moment, what felt like hours, the microphone snapped back into the console, cutting the empty noise. Whoever has activated the speaker seemed to have hung up. Confused, and growing even more frightful of where I had found myself, I turned the corner. I was met with a large, empty room that I had never seen before. It was about the size of a classroom, with stained concrete walls. The smell of must was even stronger in here. Each wall had an identical, rectangular door-shaped opening that seemed to be randomly placed in identical positions along the wall. The popcorn ceiling, littered with smears of dirt and greasy imprints, had long cracks spanning it. This room was clearly in need of renovation. I don't understand, I muttered out. I truly didn't. This featureless room served no purpose, other than a passageway to these other rooms. The lack of planning and absent attempt at caring for the room made me feel as if this place was long forgotten. The room I found myself in was as bleak and unrecognizable as the last. From my first glance, the only difference in style was this room was shaped as a triangle. I heard a single cry from my right. It was more of a whimper, actually. What the fuck? It was Clay's voice. It couldn't be Clay. I watched him leave the mall. I rushed toward the door to find Clay in a fetal position in a long hallway, stretching a distance to my left and right. Change the channel. Change the channel. Change the channel. Clay babbled incoherently as he sobbed on the floor. Clay! Clay, you gotta get up! He didn't respond to me. He never would. His eyes, wide and unblinking with fear, were glued to the floor. How can fluorescent lights be so damn noisy? And then I saw it. I felt it. It hung motionless in the air, feet lightly scraping the ground. It had dry, cracked skin that was dressed loosely with torn, rough-spun shorts. It had the torso of a man, but its torso was on the wrong way. Its frail and feeble arms outstretched to the ceiling, not quite reaching, as if in an act of surrender. It had a cocked head, as if confused, as it peered down the hallway at me. Dark, beady eyes stared widely at me through the holes in the bloody duct tape wrapped around its head. And then it started to fold towards us. Every time I blinked, stunned in absolute terror, it's not where I expected. A few feet forward, some inches to the left. It was never where it should be. And yet it was getting closer. Even closer. I turned to run, breaking the stillness, and sprinted down the hallway. I don't know. I guess I assumed Clay would follow in the moment. But oh my god, I was wrong. A blood-curdling screech shook the hallway, and I whipped around. It had reached Clay. He still wasn't looking, but he was certainly screaming. It extended its long, spindly arms and cradled him, like a child. But it wouldn't look away from me. No, its eyes never left mine. In one quick, jerking motion, it was holding Clay by the top of his head, palming him like a basketball. I blinked, and it grasped his arm with his free hand. With brute strength, it twisted Clay by the torso. Clay's screaming cut short with a fleshy crunch as he dropped to the floor in a twisted pile. His eyes had finally opened to look at me one last time, and then I screamed. The louder I screamed, the louder the fluorescent hum became. Which was louder? I couldn't tell. I turned and ran for the first door I saw, blindly twisting and turning through the rooms that followed. Why on earth does every room look the same? I turned a corner and ran face first into dark mass. We both fell to the floor. Andy! How'd you get down here? Where are we? I don't know, Andy. Where's Philip? We have to get him right now and leave. We turned and rushed down a third hallway. Perpendicular to the hallway, Andy and I met him. We ran until we could run no more, and then fell into a final doorway. We landed in a mass on the damp floor, and quickly scudded to the back wall. The hum of the lights is all we could hear, louder and louder. And then, they all went out. Silence. We found ourselves in total darkness, and total silence, as we clutched to each other. No. Not total silence. The sound of static, as if emitting from a television, slowly coming towards us. Only when the light coming from the source of the noise started to slowly illuminate the room did I realize this room only had one door. It floated around the doorframe, toes dragging on the floor as it cast its bloody eyes upon us. Andy and I, mute with fear, stood against the wall. Andy moved himself in front of me. It floated towards us. Andy raised his arms, and as it reached for us, he yelled, "Leave us alone!" We became statues. We locked eyes with it as we listened to the intercom crackle to life. Shallow, rapid breathing came to the speaker. Andy. It was Philip. With a guttural scream, Andy lunged towards it. I fell backwards into the wall and I landed on the side of a trash can. What? I was inside a trash can, filled with the refuse of a full day of food court disposal. Kid, what are you doing in here? I looked around to see a very confused, elderly janitor, wondering why a young man taking a sparrow bath after mall hours. It was 9:32 p.m. At least, that's what the clock over the water fountain said. The water fountain? I'm back in the mall. Oh, sorry. I was just hungry. And I ran. In the following years, I would try to make sense of what happened in that back hallway. I even went so far as returning to it to try to have access to that place, but to no avail. I never found a thing, but I kept trying until they demolished the mall a year later. Philip and Andy's parents weren't really present when they were around, so they didn't make much of a deal on TV when they were being interviewed, despite the media trying to fire them up. They just seemed like it was the final straw to send them to total apathy. Last I heard, Clay's parents moved out of town, but we were paying exorbitant PI bills to find their son. After a few years of half-assed detective work and a few rotations of milk cartons, Andy and Philip were forgotten by our sleepy little town. But sometimes, when I'm going to sleep, I remember, and I leave the TV on channel 03. There's nothing broadcasting on that channel, but the static helps me sleep. And that's a wrap. I don't know if I'm gonna do any more things like this. This was definitely a different type of thing for me. I have never done a creepypasta reading. I listen to them all the time, but I have never actually gone through with one. So, if you enjoyed this, please say in the comments because I'm considering doing more like this. And that's about all I can really say. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, maybe subscribe and comment, and that'll be it. I'll see you guys in the next video.